Good morning, Market Chameleons, and everyone joining us for the first time. Thanks for coming by and checking out the Market Chameleon pre-market show. And happy Halloween, Dimitri Pargamanik. How you doing, buddy?
Good morning, Will. How are you?
Good. You want to start with the disclaimer?
Yep. Good morning, everyone. Before we get started, keep in mind Will and I and Market Chameleon, we're not a registered investment advisor. We're not a broker dealer. We're not telling you what to do. We're just sharing ideas. If you need advice, call your registered investment advisor, call your broker. That's what they're there for. There's the disclaimer.
Excellent.
And I'm going to share my screen. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. And Will and I, we do these shows in the morning to try to help answer questions you may have about the Market Chameleon tools, the data, the analytics. If you have a question, you could put it on the live chat on YouTube. Will's watching it. He'll read it back to me. If you want to come on the show and ask your question live, we also provide a link to Zoom. Click on that link. Once you log into Zoom, there's a button, raise your hand. Once you click on that, it lets us know you have a question. Once we let you in, you could ask your question live, navigate us to what you're looking at. So those are two ways to ask questions, and to take a couple minutes and give you guys a chance to put your questions in. We'll start out looking at our pre-market report to see if we could get insights, what's going on in pre-market hours, and then we'll move on to the questions. So pre-market report, these are stocks trading in pre-market hours. We have this calendar view, which allows you to go back days, look at historical pre-market activity. Today, October 31st. Happy Halloween. This is what's going on in the pre-market hours. We have 380 stocks so far trading higher, 255 stocks trading lower in the pre-market hours. As far as volume goes, we've got 129 million shares trading on up volume versus 63.7 on down volume. If we convert that volume to dollar value, we have $1.3 billion worth of stock trading higher, $1.6 billion worth of stock trading lower. So, I mean, a little bit of a mixed signal there. More stocks up, but if we look at the dollar value of all the stocks traded, the downside outweighs the upside. So, a little bit of a mixed bag there. Let's come down and look at it from another perspective. We have these three lists of stocks. We have our most active stocks in the pre-market hours, our biggest percentage gainers, biggest percentage decliners. I see 39 stocks made our percentage gainers list, 45 on our decliners. So from that perspective, that looks like a little bit more bear sentiment in the pre-market hours. So, and if we look at this list, you do see we have all kinds of stocks in there. It could be low cap stocks, ETFs, leverage products, pretty much any security. If it's listed on a major US exchange and it's trading in the pre-market hours and meets the thresholds that we set for liquidity, it can make this list. And to narrow this list down to a smaller group of stocks, we can use the filters here up top. If you have a watch list, you can filter by your watch list. We're going to use this one as an example in ETF. I'm going to drop it down, and here we have a list of ETFs to choose from. When you select one of these ETFs, the list below will get filtered by stocks that are holdings in that ETF. So let's do SPY. That's the S&P 500 ETF, and we'll click that. The list below gets filtered by the S&P 500 constituents, basically, which are part of the SPY ETF. Here we have 6 stocks made our percentage gainers list, 10 that made our biggest decliners list. So that kind of indicates a little bit more bearish sentiment at the open. So a little bit tough to tell. You know, we have some mixed signals there. So I would say, it's kind of flat, right? Not overly bullish or bearish so far. So we gave it a couple minutes. Will, if you have some questions now, I'll take them.
No questions that popped up, D.
Okay. So maybe what we'll do is go to SPY. In case questions come up, we'll just default to the SPY. And let's go over some of this price action here. And, you know, we talked about this, but I do want to go over more as we build this section up. So just so you guys get used to some of the data and analytics. So far we're in a pre-market session. And we could see here in SPY, the trading in the pre-market hours, the volume weighted average price is $416.27, traded $394 million worth of stock, which is about half of the last 30 days average, right? And if we click on it, this pre-market, it'll take us to the more details on what's going on in the pre-market hours. And we have here a summary of the price action minute to minute, right? It helps us point things out potentially. And the two up top right now that we started out as plucking perhaps something interesting that's going on in, you know, beneath the surface is the volume bursts. And we detected two volume bursts here. So there was one buy, one sell. You know, the first one, the buy, was for $5.1 million worth of stock for an average price of $416.71. That looks like it happened at 6:35 a.m. So very early in the morning. So for that time of day, this would be considered a big volume burst trading in a particular minute. The impact was up 6 cents. So that's the price impact from where the VWAP price was the prior minute. So how much did the stock move, right, on that volume burst? So that's what we're looking at, the price impact. Was it high, low? Kind of gives us a sense of the liquidity in that minute, and you know how much did they pay up. So that, if we compare that, you know, historically, that wasn't a big price impact. You know, on average, it's 13 seconds. So maybe they just accessed some liquidity that they saw and grabbed it. And it happened at 6:35. So if we just click on that, right, it takes us back to a table. So we could see here 6:35. So we see here that's where it happened, right? 12,200 shares traded for $5.1 million worth. You could see it ticked up 6 cents. And that's where the buy burst is. And here we could see that none of it was in a dark pool, right? So it wasn't in a dark pool. Most of it was block trade. So if we click on it, we could see you know, the two block trades that happened. So basically, this looks to me like somebody saw that needed to buy shares, wanted to buy shares at that time, saw liquidity on the lit exchange, and just grabbed that liquidity. All right, that's just the interpretation at that time. All right. So let's look at the next one. So here there's another one, a sell. This one was for $23.4 million worth of stock for an average weighted price of $416.52. And you can see here that price impact was down 35 cents, right? Which is, if we just looked at the 30-day average, that's, a little bit of a higher price impact. And that happened at 8:30. So let's just take a look at it. And by the way, there's not that many, there are only 2 so far today on average, we could get up to 6. So here's this one. And you could see here that there's a volume burst right here, 56,000 shares, okay, for $23.4 million worth of stock. That's the weighted average price, $416.52. Here, we also see, where the stock moved from to there. So you could see down 35 cents. And here we also detected an event right at 8:30. So this could have played into it. So the event, the employment cost index quarter over quarter, that came out at 8:30. And you could see that there was a big sell burst that correlated at that time, right? So that could have been the explanation, where somebody maybe sitting there reacting to those numbers, right? And here we could see that they really accessed that on the lit exchanges, right? So most of that was on the lit exchange. So you could see here a little bit traded in dark pool, most of it on the lit exchange. So that's just, one way to start looking at intraday data and parsing it to get a little bit more meaningful insights on how things might be trading, right? Just to get used to how things trade beneath the surface, what might be going on. So we could do another one. Maybe let's try something like Apple. I'm looking for bigger names that trade in the pre-market hours. So here in Apple, we have 2 volume bursts. I'm sorry, 3. One on the buy side, we detected 2 on the sell side. So the one on the buy side here was for $11.3 million worth of stock for an average weighted price of $169.82. And you could see here that the price impact was 37 cents, right? So that was and that happened at 8 a.m. So we could go to there to 8 a.m. So here's this. This is where it happened, right? So we could see here it went up from 169.45 to 169.82. So big buy burst here. For $11.3 million worth of stock. And here, this is why I think it's interesting, because immediately after that, we see go down to 169. So let's see what may have happened here. So this one looks like a lot of it traded in a dark pool. 94% of the volume traded in the dark pool. Here, take a look at it. So here's the dark pool, right? 62,000 shares, $10.6 million, 169.84. Most of it institutional. So what may have happened here, and I'm just trying to interpret as I'm looking at it, as there could have been, a buy order in the dark pool looking for liquidity. And when the market stepped up, it found that liquidity in the dark pool, traded, right, crossed it there. And as you could see, okay, so this one's also in the dark. Let me see here. So it traded twice over here, right? 169.82. Then two big trades found themselves in a dark pool. So the lit markets look to me like they might have been illiquid. And these two trades find themselves, the bulk of it, though, you can see the big one here is on the buy side. So I'm just trying to look at, as I'm eyeballing and trying to interpret what probably happened. So that's what it looks like to me. The market's widening out, and that buy order, a significant buy order, finally matched up at a price. Okay, 169.82 in the dark pool. Right. So these were those orders were sitting in the dark pools. Let's see what happened on the sell side. So we see two orders here, right? At 721, 723 for $4.8 million worth of stock, traded at 169.88 VWAP price. So if we go to 721, here it is. So we see, so remember for this time of day, so it's measuring it by time of day. So between 7 and 8, the volumes could be different than between like 8 and 9, 9:30. So for this time of day, these two looked like large orders. They happen on the lit exchanges. We could see here one for $2.8 million worth of stock, traded 169.93. Then another one for $2 million worth of stock, traded 169.82. So we detected those as two big sell orders. So you can see here, then they fall off. So that's, again, just an example. And it looked like, there wasn't that of a high price impact for that one. I think is Apple reporting earnings today? Or wait. No, November 2nd, sorry. Okay. So, just as an example, this is trying to look deeper beneath the surface, how things are trading and what may have transacted there that's more unusual than your, from 1 minute to the next. All right. So Will, I don't know if you don't have any questions.
Dimitri, Rob just asked, would Dimitri talk about how to use this information to set up a theory for a trade? Is it just volume overall that gives is it just the volume overall that gives an indication?
Yeah, well, this one is the volume is the big indicator where you see an unusual burst in volume for minutes. So here, right here, if we looked at historically, right, if we looked at historically at $2.8 million worth of stock traded in a minute, well, if we took our largest tier volume, we took the average, right? The top, I think we did like the top third, and we measured the standard deviations. This is 8.7 standard deviations away. So that's why it makes it very big. And you could see here, like, if we, look at the surrounding data, the 2.8 million is much higher. You have $200,000 worth of stock, $300,000 worth of stock, even 600, but this is 2.8 million. That's why it sticks out that it's not, a typical trade. It's not likely that also, all of a sudden, like, a lot of retail traders, started putting it in, and it looks like, and you could see the amount of trades that this was, somebody looking for liquidity found it and did a large and was willing to step down or step up, to access that liquidity. So that's what we're doing, is just kind of plucking out that information to, get used to like how things are trading, right? Like you know, the differences between those high volume trades and regular trades. That's what it's trying to initially do. So in the next version, that when we take and start analyzing these, right? And you're going to see them more during trading hours. We're going to, when you see them, they're going to be sliced into different quartiles. And the idea there is to separate, high volume impact trades, and trades that could be, due to certain news or events, and then you have slower periods where you're, well, what's happening to the slower periods? Because if those high impact trades are not affecting the price, is it trending more higher or lower? Like how's the normal order flow trickling in, right? So you want to so this way we could look at it from a couple of different perspectives. Maybe, there's some kind of event or some kind of trade that pushed things to a new fair value, but then we want to see, absent of that event, right? If we took those out and separated them out, how's the rest of the order flow, maybe coming from retail, hedge funds, VWAPs? How's that trickling in? What kind of pressure is that creating, absent the other high impact volume trades, coming from options, coming from new, so like, for example, even in SPY, remember we detected in SPY, we saw a high impact trade, I think, at 8:30, right? So this was high impact trade, took $23.4 million worth of trade of volume, hit the market right away. That looks like it was correlated to this perhaps news, right? Because that's the other thing we're trying to. So these events are going to start also filling up, you'll see. But then, okay, we could explain that away, right? That this could have been a quick reaction to some news, maybe pushing things down to, to a new fair value. What happens, so we kind of get an indication that from here, were there buys and sells coming in, only sells, we kind of try to find a consensus to that news. But eventually this news, right, when the volume starts coming back to normal or lower, will get fully priced in, right? So the impact of that news starts to decay after a while, as you see the volumes dropping off. So then we could just measure what the perhaps the price impact of that news event was. So when you'll start seeing it, and I'm trying to explain like one part of it right now, but it'll paint you a bigger picture once we start slicing it and dicing it more to paint a better picture of what we think is going on.
Awesome job, Dean. We're right up against the opening bell. Thanks for answering the question.
Yep. All right. So everyone, thank you for joining. Stay safe out there. Have a great trading day, and hope to see you guys tomorrow.
All right, everyone, have a great day. Happy